Hey, how are you? This is painting class number 8, so if you want to paint along with me, just go to my website, search painting class 8. You'll find a photograph and a drawing in reverse. Trace the drawing, press it onto your painting surface, and you're ready to get started. Now I'm shooting from this angle because I thought it might be fun to see the inside of the studio and the actual subject and how I laid it out before I started the painting. So let's go ahead and get to work. Okay, to get started, I'm just going to put a little paint thinner on my brush, and I've mixed up some gray using black, red, and Van Dyke brown. And I'm just going to wash in this background to break the ice. Just take a look at what I'm doing down here on the palette. Just sort of a gray color. And I've got a lot of paint thinner on my brush, and that way I can wash the color right in. And I think I'm going to go right down onto the board and mix up a warmer gray, maybe with more brown, more Van Dyke brown, and maybe a little yellow in the color too. And I'll add a good amount of white to that. I've got a little pure black right on my brush here, and I'm just going to fool around with the shadow and maybe bring some of this color up into the background. That's definitely a little bit harsh, but I'll go back into that. Maybe I'll pick up a little white and start dealing with this a little bit more. The background has kind of a velvety feel to it. We'll see if we can make that happen. And we're also thinking about the light. The light source is from this side of the painting, so the painting will gradually get darker as we go across the panel. You can see I'm just blending in these brush strokes, and they're blending in pretty nicely. So far I'm pretty happy with what's happening. I think I'll go right to the cup now. And there's a lot of color in this cup. There's some blues and maybe some reds and pinks in here. There's a hint of light over here, and I want to see if I can bring that up into the cup here. And to get started, I'm just going to put a base of white down. And this is just pure flake white. And maybe I'll grab a little red and mix up sort of a pink color on the palette right here. And put that in, see how that goes. And now maybe a little blue. I'll come over to the palette and pick up just a little bit of cerulean blue, just hardly anything, and pick up a little more white and bring that over to the cup. And then I'm going to use some of the gray color that I use for the border, this sort of warm gray color that's down here. And pick a little bit of that up and wash that into the cup. It's a reflective surface, so you're sort of thinking about what colors are around that the cup is reflecting. And now I'll grab a little pure white, a little more pure white right here. And on the rim of the cup, if we come down and look at the photograph, we've got a lot of light right here, so we'll come right back to the rim of the cup and just throw some of that light in. I need to warm this side of the cup up a little bit. And put that lip in there. I don't really like that blue. Well, I don't like where the cup is going. I just got to take a break from that. So I'm going to draw the stem in of this daffodil. And there's a darker spot underneath it. So the light is all the light is hitting this end of the daffodil there. I'm going to put some of the board color on that. And let's just throw some more color in here, and then I'll grab some of the yellow. And a little bit of yellow in here might start to help this out. You know, you have to think that a flower is so thin, it's almost transparent. So you don't really want to go and put very hard lines in. And over here is, like if we look down here at this part, it's kind of a tan feel. Let's see if we can make that happen. And there's kind of a collar at the right before the flower starts. And to get back on track here, let's deal with this shadow that's on the board. Whenever I have a problem with an area, like I'm not having an easy time with this cup, so I'll move on to something else, and maybe that'll get me back on track. I've taken some of the darker color that I'm trying to make a shadow with and put that right on the cup, and maybe that'll help me get there. And I'll put a darker line at the base of the cup, and for that line I'll use a little Van Dyke brown and some black. And I'll use a dry brush to move some of this around. I might put a little something in here just to work this background a little bit more. Tighten up this edge of the cup. Try to work in that, I want that lip. And maybe a little more of the blue in here. It might be a little bit rough. Might be too much right there, but we'll bring it down. Sometimes it's nice to have a little color, even if the color's not actually there. So, you know, we really don't have that blue, but we have some blue. So we come back up, and remember, it's a painting, we're not making a photograph. And this white is too much, so let's knock that down a little bit. I'm using a dry brush just to spread that out, and then maybe I can throw a highlight in there. Let's see what happens if we just put a highlight of white right here. Does that do something? Because there is a highlight on the cup. See, if we look down at the cup here, there's this highlight right there. So let's go and also let's take some of that paint off the brush. Let's pull it over. And also we want some white right at the base here. Look at the base, all in here. So I'll put a good amount of light right here. See what that does. And right at the lip of the cup. And I've got some white on my brush, so I'm going to just throw it on the ground here and start to work on this board a little bit more. And I want to clean that line up where the cup is hitting the board. Right here, I want to clean that up, and I may end up putting some darker colors there. But right now I'm just cleaning it up a little bit, making it a little sharper. And I feel like this blue is a little bit severe, so I'm going to knock that down a little bit and bring some of the same color over on this side of the cup. And I feel like I lost the shape a little bit here, so I'll try to work that back in. It's not the right color, I'll have to darken that up. And I want to put a dark shadow right underneath that cup, so I'll grab a little black, a little Van Dyke brown, and just try to make that kind of sharp. The next step is to make this light green here. I want a really strong line on this stem. I'm down here on the palette and I've picked up a little green and I'm mixing it with that board color. And I think that's going to work pretty good. So let's put that up on the stem. A little Van Dyke brown mixed with a little yellow for the bottom of the bud here, this daffodil bud. And maybe just a little white in here, a very light yellow, a little yellow mixed with some white. Right in here. Trying to pick up the light coming in from the left side. And maybe a little bit right here. And now I'm going to take a little of the background color and just tighten this up a little bit. Try to get rid of some of these white spots, and hopefully that'll pop the stem and the flower a little bit more off of the background. There's a little bounce. Let's take a look at the photograph. There's a little bounce up of a shadow here. So if I come back up to the painting, I'm going to bring this shadow up a little bit. And this will make the line between the wall and the board a little sharper, and that should help a little bit. And I'm just going to darken this area too a little bit, just to sharpen that line up. And I'll blend it in a little bit. And I'm going to put a little bit more white on the board here, the board that the cup is resting on. And that should show just a little bit more light. And one right here. And maybe just a little red to make it more interesting in the little red, warm it up a little bit right in this area here. Just so this board isn't so boring. Okay. All right, I think I'll just leave it there. And I think that's good enough. Okay, well in the end, I was pretty happy with that painting, and I want to answer a question, and that is, a couple of people have asked me, why do you make these little paintings when often your paintings are these big abstractions? And the thing is with art, I don't want to tie myself down to one particular style or genre. It's just kind of fun to do a lot of different things. And also, when you make a painting like this, or a big abstraction, often you're dealing with architecture. So like a painting like this is occupying space. And when you make a little painting, it's like you're creating space. So you can make a little painting like that. It might go in a bathroom, it might go in a hallway, where this demands a certain room. So, and it's also kind of a nice way of recording what happens in time. Because I'm not a writer, and I don't like to keep a journal. But when I make a little painting like that, I know when I made that painting. I can look at that painting, whether it's in someone else's home or whether it's in my home. When I see that painting, I remember that time in life. So it's almost a way of keeping a journal. Anyway, I hope you had fun painting. Keep it up. The only thing you can do is get better. Practice makes perfect. Have a great week, and I'm not going to see you next week. I've got some family coming out, so it'll be 2 weeks before the next painting class. Thanks for tuning in.